You solve a huge number of puzzles, and your tactics rating is much higher than your rating in regular games, and you don't understand why that is, then you've come to the right place. Today, I'm going to explain the real reasons why this happens and give you tips on how to solve puzzles correctly so that it actually benefits your real games. Let's go. Let's take a look at the first position. If your opponent plays bishop to e4 and you're honest with yourself, I think you'll agree that during a real game, you would literally move your queen out of attack to b2 or any other square within a couple of seconds. And you'd be satisfied that you noticed your opponent was attacking your queen and that you didn't blunder anything. But if this is a puzzle, you'll realize that you don't need to move the queen away and you'll start looking for some kind of continuation. You begin to slow down and carefully look for more active moves. So, the first and most important reason why your puzzle rating doesn't match your game rating is haste, moving too quickly. Puzzles help you. They tell you that right now you have a chance to gain an advantage, and you need to find some beautiful move. So, for example, in a puzzle, after thinking a bit, if you've developed your tactical vision well, you'll notice that your bishop is facing the opponent's bishop, queen and rook, and you'll start checking for knight forks. Knight checks on e1 or h4 do not make any sense, because black will just take the bishop, we will take with the knight, and it will just lead to exchanges. But if we find a knight jump to the g5 square, it turns out that the bishop on g2 can't be taken because of mate on h7, and the knight can't be taken because of a discovered attack on the queen and the rook, so we end up with an advantage. And if the bishop takes the queen on c2, then we take the queen on b7, and we attack far more of the opponent's pieces than they do ours. He attacks the knight, for example, takes it, and we take the bishop. And there's still a double attack on the rook and the knight. My student was playing a game of classical chess and had this position. If this had been a puzzle, he would have found the correct solution in just a few seconds. But during the game, he couldn't find the right move. The second reason why your puzzle rating doesn't match your game rating is that during a game, no one tells you when a tactical shot is about to happen. With every move, you have to stay focused. You must remember to check for active continuations. But in puzzles, you always do this automatically. And puzzles are supposed to teach you to do this in real games as well. With their last move, white brought the knight to the d2 square to attack the pawn on e4. And the first instinct is to defend that pawn with a move like f5, bishop to f5, or queen to e7, anything to protect it. But if you approach it as a tactical puzzle, you'll find the move knight to e3. The point is, after the capture, the queen comes out to h4. If the pawn is covered, we take with the queen on g3, king to e2, and the bishop comes out to g4. Black wins. And if the king moves to e2 right away, then bishop to g4, knight to f3, you can capture that knight and strike with bishop takes f3. Because after king takes f3, there's a discovered attack. The king moves away and the queen on d1 is lost. So, if this were a puzzle, the solution would be found in just a couple of seconds. That's why in a real game, train yourself to think on every move and not to forget to check for active continuations. Never rush. If your opponent attacks you, don't forget to check your own threats as well. They might turn out to be much stronger than your opponent's threats. It's also very important to get used to puzzles where you're not told what to do, where the theme isn't specified, and you have to figure out what needs to be done. In other words, you're simply given a position and you have to find the strongest continuation. In my opinion, the examples presented on chess platforms aren't the best, especially on chess.com. That's why it's better to solve puzzles from collections. In my Telegram channel, you'll find such collections for practicing tactics at your playing level in the first pinned message. And for participants of the Chesspill course, I've specially digitized these tactic collections, Konotop's collections, the best tactic books that absolutely everyone used to go through at one time. And all course participants, after completing it, start practicing solving problems in positions where they're not told what to do. And these problems are designed to be as useful as possible. Let's move on. The next reason why your rating in games doesn't match your rating in puzzles is that many people don't know how to solve puzzles correctly. They turn them into a guessing game. Black played their knight to g4. And if this were a puzzle, many people, after just a couple of seconds, might try to capture the knight on c6, or first take the knight and then the bishop, or just take the knight. In short, they don't try to calculate everything to the end, they don't try to visualize the position and work it out to the point where the evaluation of the position is clear. When you play a real game, no one will let you guess which continuation is good. You have only one move you can make, and it's either good or bad. There is no room for error. You can't take a move back. That's why, when you solve puzzles, try to calculate from the initial position all the way to the end. Also, try to use collections where the moves are listed for you first. You visualize them on the diagram and then look for the correct solution. This way, you'll be able to improve your visualization skills. I've also shared such collections. So ideally, when you're solving this puzzle, your thinking should work like this. You consider active continuations and check, for example, the move knight to c6. If we take on c6 with the knight, black has two responses. They can capture our knight or they can capture our bishop. If they capture our knight, then we take the knight on g4. The bishop takes, we capture the bishop with the queen, and we end up with an extra piece. That's good for us. Let's start calculating the next variation. If we take the knight with our knight, and they take our bishop with their knight, the opponent won't make bad moves. They will still try to find good ones. He took the bishop, and if we take the knight, he takes ours. Everything is equal, but our pawns are ruined. So let's keep calculating. If we take the knight, black takes the bishop, we capture the queen, they also capture the queen, we take the knight, and they take ours. Again, everything is equal. We haven't gained any advantage. Let's start checking the move bishop to g4. If we take on g4 with the bishop, black takes on g4, we take the bishop on g4 with the queen, and capture the knight on d4. Took with the bishop, took with the bishop. Again, everything is equal. There's no advantage on our side. If we take on g4 with the bishop, black takes on g4 with the bishop, but now we capture the knight on c6. Now, if they take the knight, we capture the bishop on g4 with the queen and gain an extra piece. And if after the moves, bishop to g4, bishop to g4, knight to c6, let's repeat, bishop to g4, bishop to g4, knight to c6. Black captures our queen on d1 with the bishop. We take their queen, they capture our knight, and we take their knight. In the end, we are left with a knight and a bishop. And our opponent is left with only a bishop. We end up with an extra piece, which means this is the strongest continuation available to us. This is how you should ideally calculate this line when solving a problem. Don't turn tactical solving into a guessing game. And we'll discuss one more example where I'll explain why your rating in puzzles and in games can differ. Here, I'll also mention that during a game, you might experience nerves, time pressure, and all sorts of similar factors. Black has just played bishop to f1, and this is already quite a deep endgame. Here, most likely, you'll automatically capture the bishop either with the rook or with the king. Again, we come back to haste and acting on autopilot. But now there's also the added factor of time shortage. In real games, it's also important to have an unconventional approach to certain positions, not to forget to check for intermediate moves, and once again to avoid making automatic captures of pieces. So, for example, in this position, if you're solving the puzzle, of course you'll realize that capturing the bishop right now would be way too easy again. And you'll start looking for some interesting solutions. And that's how you'll find the move rook to d7. And I want you to learn to find such moves and not forget to check for them during your games. Rook to d7, attacking the knight, attacking the pawn on f7, and also keeping the bishop under threat as well. It's unclear what black should do. In any case, they will lose the pawn on f7 with check, and either the knight or the bishop will be lost as well. And the king is also in an awkward position. So let's consider some move. For example, knight to e8, take the pawn, the king moves away, and then capture the bishop. White has a huge advantage. So for instance, if black brings out the rook, we can take another pawn, and we have a bunch of extra pawns that white will later convert. I hope that this video was truly useful and helpful for you. You will begin solving problems more accurately and start using the most appropriate problem books. And this will definitely help you to make steady progress in your games. Definitely. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can meet again and you won't miss any new videos. Because if you came here from recommendations, we might not meet again. And I also want to remind you that I am a professional coach and offer individual lessons. All the information is available at the link in the description. Leave a request and I will definitely get in touch with you. See you soon.